Welcome to this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television. We are broadcasting from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. My name is Babla Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, moving into and out of the Indian division in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon remains an uphill task. The only way as of now is the sea. And while the people of the Indian division are hoping for sustainable solutions to this problem, the senior divisional officer of the Indian division is urging administrative authorities in the nation's capital, Yaoundé, to provide boats for him and other administrative officials in that part of the country. And few days to the African Nations Championship hosted by Cameroon, many sides of the country, many parts of the country are still offside, so to speak. Billboards announcing the football jamboree are simply absent on streets of major towns and the remote villages of the country. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on this edition of the newscast on Equinoxe television. The senior divisional officer of the Indian division, Fcfa Lawrence, is urging the Yaoundé administration to provide boats for him and other administrative officials in the region in order to ease movement into and out of that part of the country, which remains an uphill task. As of now, the only way is the sea, and it is quite dangerous and difficult moving into and out of the Indian division. Till now, it is part of the crisis hit southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon. Derek Jato reports.
We are also asking for the support of our father.
The 2021 public service delivery must take a certain advanced format, and these delegate and other service head of Indian division are in a working session convened by Fcfa Lawrence, the senior divisional officer for the said division, in his office in Mundemba, to fashion these collaborators on how to better realize the government plan for Indian division this 2021.
We start today to chart the way forward, and we believe that the way forward is going to be very, very positive. And they have promised that they are going to do all in their power to see that we, all of us, develop Indian as one person.
And while congratulating those who have been working with him to remain steadfast to the civil servant newly transferred into his division, the Indian SDO welcomes them and said over here, it is family.
And I want to dump my heart to all these divisional delegates who are behind me and who are present here today, and as they have always been present. To them, I say Happy New Year.
Begging on the hierarchy to look into the transportation challenges of these civil servants sent to work here.
But we are also calling on the hierarchy to know that the situation of Indian is not like the situation of other places. If the various ministries can put at the disposal of these divisional delegate engine boat to permit them move in and out, it is going to be a very good thing. To you, the divisional delegates, as I said in the meeting, you have all my support.
The senior divisional officer was applauded by his collaborators for not only being a supervisor but also a teacher, helping them to perfect their skills on the job.
He taught us in terms of writing administration is very important for us, and the way you manage us, the way you correct us when we say later is very important for us. What you can write to the hierarchy, how to be polite, which word you can use. So I wanted to use that opportunity to thank you for my own.
With a full house, the working session was qualified as positive for a better 2021.
the regional officials of the Northwest region are already looking forward to begin work with regards to the implementation of the new decentralization code in that part of the country. They were commissioned into their functions today in the town of Bamenda. They were elected on the 22nd, or rather on the 12th of December 2020 in Bamenda. Professor Anglophone III is leading the executive team in the Northwest region of the country, and they were commissioned into their functions today in the Northwest Court of Appeal. They are already looking forward to begin work, and of course one of the major challenges in their hands is to work in a way as to help in the resolution of the Anglophone crisis, the armed conflict rocking the northwest and southwest regions of the country for more than 4 years today. And it is from this conflict that the regional authorities being put in place today. It is of course a recommendation of the major national dialogue talking about the special status to the northwest and southwest regions of the country, and these authorities have been commissioned into their functions. And many more persons continue leaving the two English-speaking regions of the country because of the crisis to other parts of the country. Hundreds of thousands are simply internally displaced persons, IDPs, many of them living in precarious conditions in different parts of the country. Some of them, of course, in the city of Douala, in Bonaberi, Douala 4 subdivision, in the Douala 5 subdivision, in the Douala 3 subdivision, and across the city, the country's economic capital. Those in the Douala 5 subdivision are now looking up to the new Divisional Officer to provide solutions to some of their plights. The newly appointed Divisional Officer for Douala 5 subdivision has been told to uphold peace and continue to maintain security. And the new divisional officer, Dr. Asongwe Cletus, was assigned and commissioned into his functions. He was commissioned into his functions yesterday by the senior divisional officer of the Wuri division. And of course, the people, some of the inhabitants, are concerned about the high number of internally displaced persons within that administrative unit. Many of them living in difficult conditions with many problems, expecting solutions from the new administrative authority taking over the Douala 5 subdivision. Now take a listen to one of the inhabitants of that administrative unit. Take a listen to one of the inhabitants of that administrative unit in this extract.
Cameroon is full of up and downs nowadays, and here in Douala 5 we have our own issues. With us here we have many IDPs, and we know that he is very versed with these IDP issues. So we are expecting him to see into it that most of these guys who are here, who are stranded and lost, they have a problem of housing, they have a problem of feeding, and all of that. Some are here, they don't have a means to get back to school.
That was one of the inhabitants of the Douala 5 subdivision speaking to us there after the installation of the new divisional officer of the Douala 5 subdivision. Now we are going to talk about the state budget of the Republic of Cameroon. The country's minister of the country's economy is crippling as a result of the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has seriously affected the economy of the country, coupled with the impact of the socio-political crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. And of course the authorities are now looking forward and laying the groundwork for the implementation of the budget and, of course, the various projects that are contained in the 2021 financial year or economic year. Take a listen to this report compiled by Innocent.
Officially launching the 4,865.2 billion francs CFA 2021 state budget in the Bolova South Region, January 12, Cameroon's Finance Minister Paul Motaze highlighted that the budget has been put on the table to revamp the economy paralyzed by the COVID-19 pandemic and the well-known socio-political crisis.
2020 a été une année désastreuse.
2020 has been a disastrous year. 2021 is here, and we hope for a better performance, given that we must have had the pandemic under control with all measures put in place. The Anglophone crisis has posed a serious threat to implanting uncertainty. However, this requires everyone to get engaged in optimal management of revenue by a very rational and prudent execution of expenditure. By so doing, we think all these conditions, when put together, execution of the 2021 budget will enable attainment of fixed objectives that will lower the poverty line.
Faire repartir la croissance à la hausse pour qu'on lutte davantage contre la pauvreté.
The finance board disclosed that 1 billion francs CFA has been reserved for the National Solidarity Fund against the COVID-19 pandemic, while 50 billion francs CFA will be used to support farmers in the production and transformation of agro-pastoral produce. This year, medication and related imported inputs for the pharmaceutical and agricultural domains will not be arrested by custom duties and taxes. It was also disclosed that over 232 billion francs CFA will be transferred to municipal and regional councils for realization of abandoned and ongoing developmental projects. Competent services are expected to create juicy revenue generation means, which should be used professionally, void of corruption practices.
Innocent reporting there. Now we are going to talk about the 2020 African Nations Championship. Ahead of that competition, many parts of Cameroon are still offside, so to speak, and this is because of the absence of messages on billboards announcing that event on the streets of major towns like the small villages across the country. One of such villages where the people are wondering why there are no messages announcing that event as it should be the case for such an important event is the town of Lum in the Mongo division of the littoral region of the country. Manjika Ngebre reports.
Inhabitants of Lum in the Mongo division of Cameroon say they are not feeling the anxiety that characterizes the coming of a major soccer competition in a football nation like Cameroon. As to the start of the African Nations Championship, CHAN, inhabitants are frustrated. No gadgets to prove a competition is about to be played in our country. No green, red, yellow jersey seen some years back. By now, we could have seen the effervescence. According to an inhabitant, Mongo division, which could have served like a touristic site for visitors coming into the country, have been abandoned. We are not feeling like any competition is coming into our country. We have noticed that everything is centered around Douala and Yaoundé. Those of us in the Mongo were expecting that it will be extended here for people to discover our natural gifts like white pepper. Some even decry the fact that no player from USM Time of Loom and Stade Renard of Melon, all in the Mongo division, were called up in the intermediate squad that will be competing for the African Nations Championship trophy. If the ecstasy is not yet felt in Mongo, Wuri division is already experiencing the Shan fever. At the Paku Vita, tickets for the competition are already on sale. I just bought the ticket to watch the match pitting Libya to Niger. It will be played at the Japoma Sports Complex. I bought this ticket because I want to discover the pitch at Japoma. Even though Paku Vita is just one out of the several sales points in Douala, the director of Paku Vita says agent in charge of the exercise will be there till nightfall. Contrary to what have been said, this far, tickets are already available. In our sales point at Paku Vita, we have tickets of 1,000, 1,500 and 3,000 francs CFA of the two stages, that is Japoma and Bepanda Omnisport Stadium.
Nous sommes détenteurs de tickets de 1,000 francs, 1,500 et 3,000 francs de deux stades, Japoma et Omnisport de Bepanda.
It is important to state that because of Corona, the barrier measures are respected. In the inaugural and group matches of the African Nations Championship, just 25% of spectators are expected in stadia. At the semi-finals and finals, 50% of the spectators will be welcomed. The inaugural game of the African Nations Championship comes up on Saturday, January 16th at the Ahmadou Ahidjo Stadium. Cameroon will take on Zimbabwe.
Manjik and Gabriel with updates on the African Nations Championship taking off Saturday here in the Republic of Cameroon. Now he takes us to Loom to talk about the absence of billboard messages on the streets announcing that event.
We are at the Perenco Sporting Ground here in Douala, around in Dokoti, where the cranes of Uganda are warming up for the African Nations Championship, the group matches. Uganda already are in their fifth participation, owing to the fact that when this competition started in Sudan in 2011, they were present and they have participated in 4 previous editions before this 2020 edition that Cameroon is hosting. Uganda have never crossed the group stages of this competition, but with their early arrival in Cameroon to participate at the pre-CHAN competition against the likes of Zambia, Niger and Cameroon, the host nation, Uganda ended on the first position with 7 points. That is to tell us they had a good pre-CHAN competition. But that is not all, because the main tournament begins in the days ahead. And for them to prepare, it is what you are seeing right behind me here, as the cranes of Uganda under coach Mark Kinstry, they are trying to build up ahead of the competition. Uganda will play in the likes of Morocco, Togo and Rwanda. They are here with one ambition: do better than the last participation that they had, which ended at the group stages. Amos Fongo and Smart Njiken Gabriel for Equinoxe Television News in Dokoti.
Well, that's it for this edition of the news. Thank you for staying with us. Equinoxe Swipes up next.